What's up, everyone? It's your shot, Buie. Thanks for coming back for another episode of Ballin' with Buie, where I cover the hottest topics in sports, especially if they are OU related. Today I want to talk about Fight Night, which happened last night in UFC. So let's dive in. I just want to talk about the preliminary card for a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But the first prelim of the night was Ode Osborne. He beat Jerome Rivera, and he TKO'd him in 26 seconds. Actually, I think it's Ode. I don't actually know what his first name is. I don't know how you pronounce it, but Osborne, he was a minus 200 favorite coming into the fight. That was his first UFC win. UFC debut last time. He picked up the L, but picks up the dub here and drops Jerome Rivera to 0-3 in UFC career. Next prelim was Timur Valiyev. I have no idea how to say his name either, but he beat Martin Day. He's 17-2. That's his first UFC win. He won by unanimous decision. Next fight was Choi Sung-woo. He beat Yosef Zalal, which this was a pretty solid fight. Zalal didn't do too bad. He's 3-2 in the UFC, but he ended up losing by unanimous decision, and that was Woo's first win in the UFC. Next prelim, we had Prokopoi. I have no idea how to say her name either. These names, I have no idea who they are. But she beat McCann Prokopoyo, potentially. McCann had previously lost her father sometime recently, so she was a little emotional after the loss, but she lost by unanimous decision. And next fight, Carl Rosa beat Jocelyn Edwards, which Jocelyn Edwards, I watched her UFC debut. She got the win, and she looked really good. But in this fight, she just could not stop Rosa from getting close to her. She couldn't do anything on the ground. Most of the fight was on the ground, and she couldn't do anything about it. She ended up losing by unanimous decision also. And the last prelim was probably the best prelim of the night, I thought. Devontae Smith, he's been pretty hyped up. A lot of people like him versus Justin James. They both like to throw hands, and Devontae Smith ended up getting the win by TKO, and that moves him to 3-1 in the UFC. That drops Justin James to 1-3 in the UFC. But let's get to the more important stuff, the main card. It was a 6-fight main card. First fight was in the lightweight division between Mike Rodriguez and Danilo Marquez. Rodriguez, in his last fight, he had lost to Ed Herman, and then Marquez, he's on a roll. He won 3 straight coming into the fight. The first round, I had Marquez winning the first round 10-9. He had 3 takedowns and then over 2 minutes of ground control. First round, I didn't think was very close. Most of it was on the ground. And then in the second round, Marquez ended up putting Rodriguez to sleep with 8 seconds left in the second round with a rear naked choke. He just couldn't hang on. He tried to hang on, that's why he didn't tap. He tried to get saved by the bell, but he ended up putting him to sleep. And that gave Marquez the win. He's now on a 4-fight win streak, so keep an eye on him. Second fight of the night in the lightweight division between 10th ranked Diego Ferreira and 13th ranked Benil Daryush. They fought previously in 2014 where Daryush won by decision, but coming into the fight, Ferreira was on a 6 straight win streak. Last fight was January 18th, 2020 against Anthony Pettis, and then Daryush, he's won 5 straight coming into the fight, so both of them were on pretty lengthy win streaks coming into this fight. But anyways, getting to the fight, and Daryush, I had him winning the first round 10-9. He had over 2 minutes of ground control. And jumped to the second round. Ferreira just couldn't stop Daryush's takedowns. I mean, he was just repeatedly going for the takedowns, and he knew they were coming, and his takedown defense was not good whatsoever. Daryush just exposed him, taking him down constantly. That was the story in the first, second, and the third round. Ended up going full length. But Daryush had 5 takedowns on the night, which is career best for him. He ends up winning by a split decision, which I thought it should have been a unanimous decision. I mean, I didn't really see much from Ferreira, but they also got fight of the night, so I guess people loved the fight. I thought that there were some other fights on the main card that were better than that one, but whatever. And ends up giving Daryush his 6th win in a row. He's 13th ranked in the division, so see how far he jumps up. Maybe he gets a top 10 fight next fight. Third fight of the night, it's in the flyweight division. This one I thought was going to be a much better fight than it was, between 5th ranked Alexandra Patoja Pantoja. That's what it was, Pantoja. And he fought Manel Cape. This was Cape's UFC debut. And Pantoja had lost to Askarov in his last fight. Anyways, getting to the fight. I had Pantoja winning the first round 10-9. Both didn't really throw too much. They were just kind of filling each other out, one of those kind of rounds. But second round, I had Cape winning. Second round, it could have gone either way. It was really close. In the third round, I had Pantoja winning the third round 10-9 to give him the victory in my eyes. Again, I thought some of it could have gone either way, but Pantoja ended up winning by unanimous decision. The big problem with Cape, I mean, when he was throwing, he was landing. He landed a high percentage of his punches. His issue was he was not throwing enough, and Pantoja wasn't landing nearly at as high as a rate, but he was throwing far more often than Cape was. I think Cape is going to learn from this. It's his first UFC fight, and I think we're going to be hearing his name in the future, so don't forget him. Fourth fight of the night in the lightweight division, Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida. Johnson had lost 3 straight coming into the night. Guida lost 2 straight coming into the night. They came out swinging. Both guys came out swinging, guns blazing. Had Guida win the first round 10-9. He had a cut towards the top of his head in the first round, but it didn't really seem to bother him the rest of the fight. It didn't really get too exposed either. And I had Johnson win the second round 10-9. Guida had an early takedown in the round, but he only landed 2 of 19 on significant strikes, and Johnson had landed 17 of 31, so had to give him the second round. And then Guida ended up winning the third round, I thought, 10-9. He had a takedown. He controlled most of the round on the ground. He ended up getting Johnson into a body triangle and had a lot of control for most of the third round. That way, he almost got a rear naked choke, but Johnson ended up slipping out of it. But Guida ends up winning by unanimous decision. And we go on to the co-main, which was supposed to be the best fight of the night, honestly, in my eyes. I thought the main event wasn't going to be as good as the co-main, but it didn't really end up being much of a fight. It was in the bantamweight division. Number 2, Corey Sanhagen versus Frankie Edgar. Sanhagen was a big favorite, minus 435. And Sanhagen in his last fight had lost to Aljamain Sterling, who is going to be fighting for the title next time against Peter Yan. But that was 2 fights ago. In his last fight, he beat Marlon Marquez to bounce back, and then Edgar beat Pedro Munoz in his last fight. Anyways, first round, fight just started. You know, they hadn't really thrown much first couple seconds into the fight, and then all of a sudden, bang, Edgar was chasing down Sanhagen, and then Sanhagen just turns around and throws a flying knee and knocks him out 28 seconds into the fight. I mean, knocks him out cold. Like, he stiffed up, his body locked up, and he just dropped. If you haven't seen it, you should pause the video right now, go look up Corey Sanhagen's knockout, 28 seconds. It was really good. I mean, he's had back-to-back knockouts now. That doesn't really happen. I mean, knockouts are kind of rare. Usually it's a TKO. But he's had back-to-back knockouts. So if you haven't seen it, go look it up right now. Main event of the night was in the heavyweight division. Number 5, Alistar Overeem versus number 6, Alexander Volkov. Volkov was minus 190 favorite. Both of them in their last fights had beaten Walt Harris. I like Walt Harris. Man, I was rooting for him in both of those fights, but he ended up losing both of them. Alexander Volkov, before he had fought Walt Harris, he fought Curtis Blades, and he had lost, so Walt Harris was kind of his bounce-back fight. But Overeem, he's won 2 straight coming into the fight. Anyways, I had Volkov winning first round 10-9. He landed over 20 significant strikes. Overeem kind of slipped in the middle of the round, and then Alexander took advantage of it, landed a couple shots. But he dominated the first round. I mean, it wasn't even close. I wasn't dominated enough to make it 10-8 round for me. But Overeem didn't really seem to do too much, and he had cut him somewhere in the nose region. It never really showed or said, but somewhere in that area. And in the second round, he was bleeding all over the place. Volkov was exposing him tremendously in the boxing game. They didn't get on the ground or anything. Not very many kicks were thrown. It was just straight up punches the whole way. Anyways, Volkov ends up TKOing him in the second round. It's a big win for him. He's climbing in the heavyweight division, something to keep an eye on. The next fight in the heavyweight division, I believe, is between Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. And then Ngannou and the current champ Stipe. I think that fight's lined up. So I'm not really sure who he's going to fight next. I mean, he's not earned the right for a title fight quite yet. Maybe if Derek Lewis can pull off the win, maybe he'll pull Derek Lewis. I'm not really sure who he thinks he's going to fight next. But that wraps up UFC Fight Night. Wraps up this podcast. Consider sharing, subscribing. Deuces.